Hey, this is Rob Charney, Old Guy Tech TV News 44. I'm here for opinion versus opinion, and I'm here today with John Manajastic, Jonathan Charney, and of course, I'm your host, Rob Charney. And what is in the headlines? The only thing you see today is Syria. Syria, 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 and that's what we're getting, folks. And I'll tell you what, I don't know about you, but I'm getting my ire up, and I spent 4 hours today watching the Senate committee talk and answer, and on a vote 10-7, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee passed the resolution that authorizes a limited military response. So it'll go to the full Senate.
Not including John McCain, who voted against it.
Yeah, because John doesn't want a limited. He wants us to go in there and kick ass and put boots on the ground.
Yeah, because don't forget, he was saying how they're good people.
Yeah.
By the way, that's an actual quote. He said they're good people.
They're good people? Well, you know what? I'm sure they are. But we've got a situation over there that now we have to decide who's going to take which position, because if we all end up agreeing here, I'm going to be bored to death.
Here's the question.
What's your point?
Well, here's the question. The fact, I bet, but before Vietnam War, I bet there was somebody in the United States saying people at the Hanoi Hilton were great people too.
No.
I don't think so.
How do you know?
I
How
was
do you know
there. I was there.
We
were there.
We could have sided with Ho Chi Minh and not created the South Asian Treaty of SATO and put a puppet government in. We could have actually negotiated with Ho Chi Minh that was kind of friendly and negotiable.
Yeah,
let's decided we didn't want to.
Right, and we talked about that last week in Vietnam. This is different.
What I'm saying is McCain's a geriatric old man. He needs to leave. The last time he was relevant was 20 years ago.
Good, then let's move on. Syria, Middle Eastern country. Who are their borders? We've got Lebanon, Israel, Jordan, Iraq, and Turkey, right?
Right.
So, what has Russia been doing? What part is Russia playing in this? It's my understanding.
Actually, Putin and Russia, as of this morning, offered a bit of an olive branch and said, don't rush to judgment here. There might be something we can accomplish by negotiating politically.
Right.
And when you say take a position, here's my position, okay? And I'm very leery. Number one, I think the president would be insane to open this up to debate in the Congress and the Senate.
Well, it's going to the Senate.
Go ahead and act on his own, number one.
Right. Without going to the Senate?
Well, he's currently in the Senate. He hasn't been to the Congress.
Well, he's only been into the committee, the Foreign Relations Committee.
But here's the deal. You've got John Kerry, someone that came back and became a anti-war guy after he served in Vietnam, now taking on feathers and becoming the hawk. This is unfortunately my thing is the party of the dove is already all of a sudden become the party of the hawk. The Democrats usually don't want to go to war unless it's December December the 7th, 41. Otherwise, the more dovish party. You have a president that voted against the war in Iraq, and you have John Kerry sitting at the Senate was it Foreign Relations Committee?
Yes.
Or Armed Services Committee?
Yeah, it was Senate Foreign Relations Committee.
Taking the position of we need to go take care of Syria. I think, personally, to a certain extent, it is a contrived Bay of Pigs for the Obama administration.
Okay, yeah,
somebody should turn on the lights and read a book on history in the last half a century and say, you know what? I think we have to sit on our hands and not do anything, because the odds are it's not going to go well. I mean,
it's not going to go well.
Anybody that believes it's going to go well is functionally insane.
They're out of their friggin' minds. The Russians have provided Russians have provided Syria with their most advanced weapons, both defensive and offensive. We're moving our most expensive carriers and battle groups into the Mediterranean area, and you think that we're going to get out of this without a scrape? I think
Oh,
I
heck
think we're
no.
going to see burning ships and men dying, and we've gone ahead and said we're going to take a limited response. What kind of crap is that?
Well, the problem of it is that he's trying to not lose face. Although this morning I heard the argument that he didn't draw a red line in the sand for us, but it was his words were internationally.
Yeah, he said the world drew the red line.
Yeah, he's backing off.
The
He's-
issue of
right.
it is, in this whole scenario, who is the missing character? Obama. I haven't seen him on news. I've
No,
seen
not today.
hearings. I mean, right?
No.
And I advised my students today, and I was teaching English, and they were angels. I mean, it was almost like being in school, Rob.
Oh wow!
Yeah, this teacher knows how, and I just said, same. You know, you give me an issue, you're out of here, and they all don't want to be out of there. But that he has lost, I think, the taste for blood that someone was trying to give him. So, you know, let's turn our attentions back to jobs and the debt ceiling and the sequester and those things that are affecting us adversely. Because the thing about this war, it's $1 billion. The limited strike is $1 billion.
So I have this is from the Daily Mail. Here's a comment. It says, here. And if we don't take those concrete measures, and if the resolution doesn't allow it, then it's obviously I can't support it. It is also as bad as not passing a resolution. Is passing a resolution that does not allow us to take action that reverses the situation on the battlefield. That's from McCain.
Yeah, but
Okay.
he used the word battlefield.
Battlefield.
Yeah.
Right.
I salute John McCain for being an absolute American hero. I salute his
Oh,
service.
absolutely.
I could
hasn't him.
I could never have voted for him.
Right.
Because he spent 5 years in the Hanoi Hilton.
Right.
They broke his arms. They tortured him daily. He broke, and I by no means criticize him for that, because he was tortured daily. I mean, 24/7.
Oh no! The man is a miracle to walk out alive at all.
Well, but
considering what they did to him.
His
over there.
his biggest problems, he's calling, he's always called himself a political maverick, and he's not an insider when he's been a politician for 40 years.
You know what?
give me a break.
In the last 5 years, he's bounced back and forth between between a dove and a hawk so many times you don't know which way he's flipping.
Well, even on immigration, he wrote the immigration.
Yeah.
It was Kennedy McCain.
Yeah.
And it didn't pass in the Bush administration, so then he jumped to that side. I love him dearly. I hope his daughter Megan stays in the political flow. I think that she's a fresh voice from the Republican side. And I love John. He's an old school. I mean, he's an anal for being an outsider. He's like an anal suppository. So inside.
So here's
but
Go ahead, Jonathan. What's
Well,
it?
this is
be that
kind
as it may.
of
He should probably retire.
well, this is kind of
He will.
stupid, but this is how much I think John McCain actually cares. He was caught playing a fake poker game during John Kenneth Kerry's case for bombing Syria. This is how much the man actually cares.
Well, but the thing is, you got to realize that he served in the Senate with Kerry. He knows.
He knows everything that he's going to say. He's bored to death. He's sitting there.
You have a dove
Yeah.
here wearing the feathers of
Yeah,
a hawk. It doesn't make any sense. I was watching the hearings when he confronted Mr. Kerry, and it was, they were very cordial. But it was like, come on, John, what are you doing here?
Yeah. Yeah.
And he basically said, do you believe this, or are you doing the dirty work of the administration?
Well, the Russians, I just got this is hot off the press from their. It's a Syrian-based. It's called the Dam Press, and the Russians are saying that they're not backing off their Syria policy, and they are getting ready to double down by supplying Assad's military with weapons that have never before been seen in the Middle East. Yeah. So, these guys are coming up here and they think that everything's going to be rosy peachy. We're going to throw a few ships out there, lob a couple missiles, and run away. Obama came out and said, we have to do something. So his response is, we're gonna bomb something. We can't tell you what we're gonna bomb, but we're gonna bomb something, right? So they have some kind of.
The response is make Congress do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
And let them decide whether we should take action or not. As again, the thing that bothers me is that this looks to me like an ill-advised military attack, similar to the Bay of Pigs, which if John Kennedy would have run in '64, he would have had his feet held to the fire over the Bay of Pigs, which did not work. Which, you know,
it was a joke. It was put on by a bunch of bozos, and it was a joke. But that was a. I don't want to keep going back to Bay of Pigs. I understand your position in the correlation between the two, but it's not a Bay of Pigs.
Our government's a joke. The only thing they want to do is restrict our freedoms and capture people who are actually probably at some point trying to help. I mean, give us a break. Everybody in our Congress is a bunch of glad-handing traitors. Here's
the situation. This is the way I see it, and why Obama is letting this whole circus go on. He doesn't. He likes to write these executive orders at midnight and when it's dark and nobody else is watching, and he sneaks in whatever.
If you look at the numbers, Bush wrote more executive orders.
Hey, I didn't say. I didn't say who wrote one more than the other. I'm just telling you what's going on here. So what's happening is he's been drug out. It's been pointing out that he's doing this, that he's writing more executive orders without letting anybody know what's going on. This time, instead of having the balls and just write those orders and send those ships and lob those missiles, now he wants to play a fancy dancy game and say, hey, you know what? The Senate approved it. Who knows what Congress is going to do? But that's why I went ahead and did it. And if we lose, and we lose thousands of lives, he's going to be able to point it at somebody other than himself.
He's he's an American politician.
This wouldn't be by executive order. It would be by war powers.
Same difference.
Granted, no, it's not.
Yes, it is. Same exact difference.
I mean, the difference is, and I talked about this last week. It's interesting that Ron Paul and everybody is going back to the Constitution and say, hey, it's up to us. It's been up to them since World War II, and they've deferred and given power to the president to go to war. And Madison in the Federalist Papers, as Mr. Paul pointed out, said, you know, he tried to protect, and they were very clear in trying to keep war powers in the people's house, because it were the people that are going to go to war, not the president. I think on this one, you know, he's on his way to Sweden for the G7 or the G20 now.
Yeah, G20, right.
I don't think... And you know, he doesn't want a coalition like W had. You know, when you have Croatia and Serbia and, you know what I mean? You just get a bunch of countries that go, okay, we'll go along with that. The Brits have become tremendously silent. The French are on our side, which should be an indication that we shouldn't do it in the first place. And you know, when you have a guy like... what's his name on it? Ed. When the Ed show says no Syria, when your friend Chris Matthews says no Syria, it probably, on a whole, is a pretty good idea to not do it. And they're right. I mean, Pelosi and Obama are way stretching their bounds. They would make Republican representatives and senators vote for it to back up the president. And this is not the issue upon which to take a stand. And the American public doesn't want to go. Come on.
Now, there's more than an issue here besides the fact we're going to be wasting our time.
And $1 billion minimum.
Well,
money.
Well, that's the fact. I mean, our economy is still in trouble, no matter how many of those damn talking heads say, oh, the economy is recovering. You know, as soon as we do that,
it's true.
I got an interesting bit that I was reading just now, and our Secretary of State told Congress yesterday that the Middle East, get this one, is willing to reimburse all of our war costs to unseat the Syrian dictator.
Who? Which ones? Certainly not Turkey. Certainly not Iraq.
Or
certainly
Iran.
not Jordan.
Well, I wouldn't say that Turkey wouldn't. Turkey's not particularly happy with them.
Then why don't they
I
do
understand
something?
They're not particularly happy with us either.
Well, why don't you know?
They're Turks. They're not happy with anybody.
Well, why. If they're not happy, why don't they get off their thumbs and actually do something instead of relying on everybody else?
I'll tell you one thing. If I was Israel, have you noticed how quiet Israel's been in on this? They got to be scared to death. They're sitting in defensive position right now because they're waiting for the missiles to start flying.
Which, by the way, I mentioned yesterday and I got shushed for last week.
I guarantee you that Israel will be starting to throw missiles as well. They're not going to have a choice. They're going to be stuck in the middle there, and
right. Again, and it's a situation. Whereas if we take action, one of the reasons the Brits said, we're not so keen to go do this,
right,
is because they're going to retaliate on people closest to them.
Exactly.
They'll probably cruise missile our ships,
right,
which don't have any. They don't have any. They may or may not. The Soviets may see weapons they've never seen.
This newest weapons systems the Russians are installing, saying there is no defense for them. So
maybe there is, maybe there isn't.
Right. I mean, but you know what the problem is? I don't want to find out. I don't want to find out. I don't think we should be there. Let them go ahead and it comes down to Muslim fighting Muslim because you have.
It's becoming very much a tribal war.
A tribal war, exactly. I mean, I was looking up some of the information about some statistical information about Syria, just because I wanted to learn a little bit more about it. And I'll just give you kind of some of the snippets that I found out. So the population is 22,457,000 approximately. The average median age is 22 years old. So obviously you don't live very long in Syria. The capital, of course, is Damascus. The ethnic groups, Arabs are 90.3, Kurds, Armenians, and others are only 9.7. It's a Sunni, a Muslim, 74%. Other Muslims include, I think it's Await. I think that's what Assad is. It's only 16%.
You have a ruler that's a ethnic minority.
Right. And then you got 10% Christian, which is interesting.
Coptic Christians.
Yeah.
The Egyptian Christians.
Okay, and then GPD, it's 5,100 per person. I mean, it's weird. Unemployment is 18%. So you don't, So anyway, it was part of the Ottoman Empire. It was kind of interesting looking at those statistics. Particularly the fact that you just don't live very long there, no matter what.
And I don't see the strategic value of Syria. I don't know that it's.
They mean nothing in oil. There's no oil. They present like 1.1% of the oil coming out of the Middle East. So there's no oil.
A port. They don't have access to the sea.
No.
It's a goodwill play. That's what it is. It's Barack Obama and other politicians. It's a goodwill play going, America's helping some poor defenseless people out like we did in the 80s and they started killing us. So
you're making glancing generalizations.
Well, no, in Iraq and Afghanistan, they started shooting our stuff back at us. So I'm sorry, it's a bunch of BS.
Well, when we got to Vietnam, you got rid of the AR-14 and found yourself an AK-47. It's a much better rifle, and it was dependable.
Well, just this, all this is it's a goodwill play to make Barack Obama seem better, which I don't think is working.
I think that you're Barack Obama a bit too much. There's somebody, but maybe.
Well, it comes down to one thing: is Barack Obama is allegedly the man in charge. Is there somebody pulling his strings or giving this or saying that? Probably advisors and other things. But at the end of the day, whether good or bad, it's his fault. That's the way the world's going to view it.
It does feel funny that he of all presidents is pushing this. Very Clintonish. This is very Clintonish.
Very pragmatic dove. All of a sudden, want to go.
I do find it interesting for a president who's trying to remove firearms from American citizens has no problem giving it to other people, though.
Let's not go there, Jonathan.
Why? It's a logical argument.
No, it's not.
Yeah, it's not about this.
And you logically want to take the vote away from and disenfranchise people. but you
I
don't
actually
want
don't.
registered firearms.
I actually
No,
don't.
I do. I want to see ID given for voter registration. So
But you don't want to have firearms registered.
no, I actually don't have a problem with that anyway.
Okay.
Firearms are. By the way, when you buy firearms, they're already in state of California registered. So
In most states, they're already registered.
yeah, and the
you know
ATF
what?
already has backlog of records, so it doesn't.
It's like I said last week. I'm still waiting for the NSA to show up.
I know the guys in the black
I'm waiting.
helicopters on the ropes.
Well, if
they are coming. They're coming for yours before they come for mine. I know they are.
Yeah.
But we're off. But yeah, maybe we should stop worrying about Syria and pay more concern to the NSA and Fourth Amendment, Second Amendment,
which
and
by the
First
way,
Amendment rights here.
they
Right.
almost defunded the NSA.
It's no,
No,
what?
it was from everything I've heard. It was a pretty close vote. The president. I've heard
I'd
the
have to look
president.
that up. I don't believe it for a second.
I heard. I heard.
Believe me, if they took the funding away from that cover, it went somewhere else.
Well, I know, but it's a
Just because they took the money away, they're
Yeah,
not
they'd
out.
funnel it.
it's a pretty bold move for
Just
politicians.
because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not watching you.
Well, yes, I know, but I'm saying because most of those politicians didn't know about anything until the Snowden leak. What I'm saying is that's a pretty bold statement.
I think they knew a lot.
They knew.
They knew a lot more. They keep every time they renew the Patriot Act quickly, without any debate, without anything in the public. Hey, let's renew the Patriot Act, right?
I
Which
don't underestimate the ignorance of politicians. I bet it's one of those things that they said, "Okay, I don't care."
Jonathan, believe me, I don't underestimate the ignorance of politicians or the lack thereof. But
All right,
they-
so are we still on Syria? Are we moving on? I mean, it sounds like all three of us are saying, what the hell's going on?
For reasons I'm not Obama centric on it because I'm just tired of beating up the guy. If he's the president and he's the one that's pushing this, but I think what he's doing is he'll go away to Europe for 4 or 5 days. He's going to let it cool and come back. If he does move forward in Syria, in light of, the thing about the hearings is our friend Marco Rubio, he grandstanded, and Ron Paul grandstanded. It's getting politicized as everything else is in the United States. And we get off issue all the time. I think that
It's airtime. They wanted their airtime.
Oh God, yeah, it's free TV, so but he goes off to Europe. It cools down. People go, Barack, you're standing there and you got it out, and it's right into the wind, brother. We're not hanging with you on this. If he comes back and still goes, let's go, bombs. No, there's just no value in any way.
Right.
What tenuous credibility and support he has in his administration, and it's tenuous on both sides. I love it when the right wingers just go, "Oh, you goddamn leftists are out of your mind, man." You believe me, there's nobody stupid on this side either, and we just don't see anything that seems viable to us on the other side. But if he was to come back and do this, his approval rating goes to like 5%. And forget about Obamacare. Forget about any possible political strength you would have had on any issue for the balance of your second term. It's done.
Yeah,
it's done. It's over.
I agree. So my opinion is, if we move forward, and if we fire missiles, and God knows what their intel is telling them, that you got to lob a missile over here or over there or what they're moving stuff around. I don't know how they're going to figure out what they're going to bomb. So it's going to be like, find a tent somewhere, throw a bomb over there, blow it up. I do believe that they're going to fire back at us, and I'm afraid we're going to have casualties. We're going to have casualties. Right. They're going to fight back. It's not going to be like Iraq and surrender and give up and shock and awe, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to be like that at all. I think we're asking for trouble. I don't know why, again, we're sticking our noses into another country's affair once again, as we've all talked about.
Simple. It's a violation of the Geneva Convention.
And you know what? You're right. That's probably the best point.
It's humanitarian or nothing. It certainly has nothing to do with the American interests. If anything, it's so contra our interest with the Chinese the Russians and everyone in the Middle East except for Israel.
Which is kind of
it's just a bad choice.
Well, it seems a little weird to me about the Geneva Convention thing when you had some of these politicians on the Democratic side saying how bad the United States was violating the Geneva Convention when we went to Afghanistan and Iraq. So it seems very...
We violated the Geneva Convention when we went into Vietnam, Jonathan.
No, I'm saying if it's because of, if they're saying, oh, it's because they're violating the Geneva
Jonathan,
Convention.
You're just forgetting that there was an entire world war where nobody used chemical weapons. It was rather amazing.
After World War One,
what I'm saying is politically, it's very.
I don't give a F about politically.
This for one.
Chemical weapons.
Tell him, John. Get him, John.
No, what I'm saying, if you actually listen to my argument,
convince the world you shouldn't effing use them.
Well, I know
it's not war; it's annihilation.
Wait, hold on. What I'm saying is, politically, I find it interesting that the Democrats.
It's not interesting.
John, let him finish his thought.
Yeah, stop being a schlemiel, man. Let me finish. What I'm saying is the fact, politically, it's interesting that when Bush was in office and we were going into the war, you had some of these Democrats saying, oh, we're violating it here, we're doing this, we're doing it here. And now, if they're saying that the reason we got to get into Syria is because of the Geneva Convention, I find it politically very fascinating that they can switch morals so fast.
Okay, so your point is, I understand where you're coming from, Jonathan. So point made. Hold on, John. Hold on.
Originally said about politicians.
Well, I don't trust politicians, even the ones I voted for.
Therefore, I don't find it interesting.
Yeah, Jonathan's point is taken. I understand that, and after World War I, when mustard gas and all the sarin gases and all these other gases were used, in the atrocity of those chemicals were brought to light, people were just, oh my God, we can never let this happen again. And I agree. I think he has done a terrible, horrible thing to his own people. There's no doubt about that.
Totally.
Okay, the pictures that are coming out of these poor kids and the people and what that gas does is horrible.
Oh, totally.
All right, so what?
Well, and the issue is, and this is where we're in the situation, okay? And it's a shift in world power. And I'm glad to see that the United States and the populace of the United States, on a whole, we are tired of war. We have been in Afghanistan for over a dozen years. We were it's shades of 1984. The war on the TV.
I mean, we're still in Germany and Japan, so.
Excuse me?
We're still in Germany and Japan and a bunch of other countries. World War II ended 60, 70 years ago, and we're still there.
Well, but we're in Germany for purposes of NATO. We're in Japan because we eliminated their.
Oh yeah,
when we rewrote their constitution, we did not allow them to have any forces to defend themselves. So we positioned ourselves in Japan. We were their defense against aggression. Japan took really good advantage of that, but now Japan is taking more responsibility for its own defense, and these are things that happened 50 years ago. The World War I was 100 years ago when we last used gas. It just stuns me on an overwhelming basis that our memories are so short and our militaries are so strong, and that at some point, as intelligent human beings, we haven't been able to find a lasting peace amongst us, after thousands of years of warring with one another over property and imperialism and ideologies, that we're just not as smart as we think we are.
Yeah, you know what? That's well stated. You're right. You would think that our memories wouldn't be as short as they are.
You're expecting too much of people.
Oh, well, and
yes, I am. I expect us to evolve and improve.
If we can't,
we would hope to.
If people can't stop fighting over a city block, there's no chance in hell we're going to stop fighting over stuff like this. It's just not possible. And it's a political. I mean, if you look at politics as a game, it makes a lot more sense. Unfortunately.
it's you follow the dollars. When you start looking at some of this stuff, you follow the dollars, and you start looking who is going to benefit the most by this. And if you look at it in that vein, you switch over to follow the money trail. Russia stands out to be the biggest winner on this whole thing.
Well, Russia and as we said last week, Russia and China are doing business with Syria. Yeah. They are business partners. They do commerce with one another. Actually, in the case of China and you're right, more in particular, Russia, who doesn't have a huge customer base,
right?
That they sell that Syria is a very important customer of theirs. And yes, it is all about the money. And I think we have visited this, and Jonathan's in agreement. We have become all about the money. I mean, it's very easy. Follow the money, and the Bill Clinton line.
Yeah. Follow
the money, and you'll find out what's going on. And it is all about the money. And I probably say this because I live La Vida Broca here, but in some ways, I'm almost happier now than I was when I had money. I'm certainly not functional, and I'm not as fluid as I was.
Let me write that down. John is happier.
Which, by the way, we have on tape.
Without money.
Right. Yeah, and if this is
happening, keeps you out of trouble, doesn't it?
You sure as shit don't want to hit me when I'm in a bad mood, do you? But the thing of it is, it gives you, and it could be to some level envy, but I don't see the 1% to 2% that have very much concentrated wealth, and the wage gap keeps broadening. It's at the cost of somebody else, and it is at the cost of education elevation and moving forward. I saw a post on Facebook today, and dimitude, or something that is supposed to be in the ACA, that is a word that the Arabics bastardized from the French, meaning discrimination, which when I went to research it, I couldn't find it in an American dictionary. And, there are laws against using foreign words in domestic legislation. And it noted to me that when they listed it, it wasn't in italics, which if you are writing in English and you use a word from another language,
right,
you italicize it. And when it wouldn't come back in the dictionary, and then it came back, and the guy said he had Googled it. And so I Googled it, and the word did come back, and it told about how it was derived in France and the Arabs. But I mean, the posting on Facebook is, "I'm so making my blood boil," that he put, and it's a total misrepresentation. It's not there, because the second thing after the definitions was the Snopes debugging of what was going around. And Jonathan, you do this. I looked at my students today and I said, please, 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 you need to pay attention to the Syria deal. These are only ninth graders. But Rob, we were, in the fourth or fifth, in 62.
Yeah.
I was, in the second grade.
Yeah.
And when the Bay of Pigs happened, or actually second grade. The people that were in school with me know I would go to the library after class. I would go to the stacks, and I would do research to what was said in class. And I come back the next day and say, yesterday you said this, but I went to the library and it really says this. And being a teacher, you hate that kid, but you gotta love him because he went and did his homework. Well, it's so important that whatever the issue of the day is. I mean, Rob from last week, he went and did research. I went and did research. If it's going on, become informed. Don't become a reactor. Become a researcher. Well, then you know what the heck you're talking about.
If you're talking about some of the stuff I post on Facebook, generally it's stuff I find interesting. I generally don't say my opinion one way or another, and that's generally what I do.
And that's fine.
And far as everything
I'm not
else,
here to talk about Facebook.
And far as everything else, I'm just tired.
No. I'm not at all attacking you.
Well, no.
I'm saying in general to the public, whether it's adults or it's kids,
Do some
Yeah,
research.
I guess
do not be a reactor, be a researcher, and then from an educated platform, lambaste all you want, but don't go. Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
and at the end, I'm intellectually tired of dealing with crap politicians who don't care. At this point, as an American, I feel as useless as anything because my politicians don't listen. The government doesn't listen. All they want is my money. And at some point, I feel like a prisoner because I ain't got crap. I don't got any politicians. There's nobody who seems to truly care on any side.
Jonathan, we felt the same way in early Vietnam.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody listening. And we started to make a change. And then we got jobs and we made some money. And we had security, and we had the nice house, and we had kids that we wanted to do the best by and educate and all that kind of stuff. And my generation kind of said,
I think that
I'm above it.
I think that the problem is my generation inherited your skepticism about everything. I mean, to an epic level.
Well, then,
most of the people I know, they're the same people that when they shake a politician's hand, they're expecting a knife. I mean.
But the problem of it is you have to do what we did, and I'm the broken record. Get out in the streets, demonstrate. That the only way change comes about, and do it at the ballot box, and don't have jury, good, bad, or indifferent. Don't let the Democrats gerrymander districts. Don't let the Republicans gerrymander district where they don't have to stand up to the scrutiny of the people. When Boehner backed Obama at the beginning of the week, all right, the call came from both sides: throw the bum out.
Yeah.
And he spent nothing on his last re-election because he is in a gerrymandered district in Ohio, and he had no opposition. He had nobody to run against. It was just done.
Yeah,
See,
we've got that in so many areas in the redistricting situations.
But see, unfortunately,
the California Democratic majority.
Oh yeah.
But unfortunately, at this point, I feel the same thing about the United States. It's time to raise the right flag, surrender, because this country, if you look at the way it's going, it's over. This country was over 50 years before it realized it. I really do feel that way.
Something that. John, when we were talking about what we did in the 60s, and something that I have been looking for and haven't seen is any organized demonstration of opinion of citizens in this country. In other words, we live here in the capital of California, and I keep watching for some of the political people to stand up and say, hey, let's get out here and get a group of people and let's voice our opinion so it's seen. And I'm not seeing any of that.
It's because
there are demonstrations, at the Capitol building.
But there's small demonstrations all the time. I'm talking about the demonstrations like you and I saw, where it wasn't, 200, 300. It was 15,000, 20,000 of us out there.
You want to know why that won't ever happen again? We're too divided. We're divided by race. We're divided by creed. We're such a divided country that we're too busy fighting the small stuff that may or may not be there.
No, I think what's happened in this is that I think the population has gotten to a point where they're more worried about the fact that they need a meal, that day, than what the hell's going on in the world politics. I think that's what's happened.
We had communes. You could politically align with people. I mean, whatever, the hippie grungy, but at the same time, it was people united in a plane of thought. The difference, a huge difference, and Jonathan, please don't take this personally, is that, Rob, what was the greatest thing? What did we want when we turned 18? To get the hell out of the house. I'm tired of living with my parents. And even if we respected our parents, it was the goal was I'm going to move out. As soon, I'm going to get a job. I'm going to move out, and you could rent an apartment for a couple of $100s. There was the social mobility for you to move out and establish yourself as that independent political entity that had long hair and whatever, and
The-
A couple of $100.
well, no,
That's-
the economic. John's right, because the economic.
And now kids can't
can't
move
do
out
it.
of the
You
house
can't afford
even
it.
if they have a job.
I can't understand how people pay the rents they pay now. I mean,
I
it's
was in L.A. and the house. This is like on Beethoven Street in Mar Vista,
Mhm.
between Washington and Maxella. The house next door was empty and be re-rented for $4,200.
Yeah. How can anybody? How can anybody? That's rent. That's not a mortgage
That's
payment.
not utilities. That's not.
I don't know.
Water has to be paid by the landlord, but that's not cable. Internet, light, heat, which are all. I mean, that is every bit of a $5,000 liability every month.
Well, this happened to me when I bought a house, and when I was looking, it was literally the same price as renting and buying a house. I mean, it was ridiculous. Anywhere from $1,200 and up. The house prices and renting were on parity. So It was like, crap, I'll buy a house. And then I lost it.
Now the problem is, and this centers around the whole economy. When the foreclosure market came, because that was such a bubble ready to burst. People were getting mortgages. They were buying houses that didn't make the money to own. They were lowballed. They were given mortgages, no money down, all built to fail. Okay. And the problem is now that banks are not in the business of owning homes. They're not good homeowners. So now you get derivative investments of people that have money that come in and buy lots of homes that have been foreclosed and bought by the financial institution that's putting this investment together. And they buy rental homes and are guaranteed positive cash flow off these rental homes. But that's also part of, you'll never be able to find your landlord, just like you could never find your mortgage lender in the last bubble. The first thing we need to do is somebody with big ones to go into the financial industry and put Glass-Steagall back in, break this monopoly and the money market apart. They should not be able to sell insurance, investments, bank accounts, checking accounts. They can't become a one-stop shop, because that's what brought us down in 2008. We need the financial markets, and the financial people are running amok. They're making bazillions of dollars on nothing that's contributing to the. I mean, when a Wall Street banker is making millions of dollars a year, and a teacher makes $36,000 a year, and you look at their independent contributions to society, we should be ashamed.
Well, my comment's a little bit of a non sequitur, but I think I noticed a change in the 80s when you started noticing it was less about trades or what the kid was good at. It was more about college, and now I think...
Which has become a racket that they charge more, and the government, and I agree with Elizabeth Warren on this, the government makes money off of student loans.
Of course.
And
the government's the biggest Ponzi scheme there.
Percentage of our debt?
Yeah.
Student loans.
Oh.
Well, yeah, the U.S. government's a giant Ponzi scheme, but it just seems like you have less trade, trades and people with skill, and that happens. It just seems like we both
outsourced our major manufacturing jobs.
Well,
that's why the thought of waging another war, and one of the reasons in any war, South Korea does what the United States used to do. Hyundai is what. They build ships, they build ships' engines, they build containers, they build cranes, and they don't even insure them because they have enough to absorb their own losses. When we gave up the Rust Belt, when we stopped China, Mao Zedong killed millions of people trying to get into the steel business. Now, China controls steel. You can buy 316L surgical steel. My 98-cent watch. This steel case, steel back, the whole thing, the movement. Okay, because they make steel. We don't.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, I experienced that. I do some welding, and I make things around the house here, and I bought some steel just recently to do some gates and things. And I looked at the pile of steel, and it was a $500 bill, and I went, "We're in trouble." Go to Home Depot and buy a 2x4. Look what they're getting for that. I mean,
well, and look what you're getting in terms of the quality of the
yeah,
tube.
yeah, and it's just like you said on the rental house. In our day, we get a couple of us together. Three of us would, rent an apartment.
$200 a month, 600.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, and so it's a whole different situation. Our youth cannot get out from under. We don't have the jobs available for them to make a living wage. Oh my God, I'm a conservative, and I said those words, but it's true.
I actually think that the complaint about our entitlement society, again, and I've said this before, is not my Social Security, your Social Security. It is the fact that our children who used to be able to go out on their own and start a family and a home and contribute to the economy, and they're living at home.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult.
And so what we criticize, and it happened in the minority community, and particularly African American community, when grandmothers were brought back into service to raise their grandchildren.
Well, we're back to that argument about children having children and the whole problem with that situation.
Well, but now it has gone from being a minority problem to just being
a problem
across the board.
Right.
Problem. Because I have friends in St. Louis, and she's working at Walmart supporting her daughters.
Yeah.
And their kids that are living in the rental. That is not a forward-moving economy.
It's very difficult, and hopefully we can figure some ways to dig ourselves out of that one. And lobbing missiles over at Syria is not the answer, Mr. President.
Syria. I mean, you have to realize that Syria would be off the budget. Afghanistan was off the budget.
Yeah.
Iraq was off the budget. And if you want to know where all the money went, and I mean, what was it? What was that deal in Iraq? There was like something like $54 billion in cash
Yeah.
that disappeared.
What was
I mean, how did we lose 50? Where did that go?
I read.
Did it go to the Bank of Cheney or something? I mean, I want to know.
It was like
and I don't want, and my conservative friends and John. I mean, I'm more concerned about the $54 billion in cash that disappeared than I am Benghazi.
That's okay. We'll just reprint that $54 billion.
Well, it's like, what was that? I read.
Taken care of.
I read yesterday, and I may be a little off, but the last time there was an actual audit of the Pentagon, they noticed a huge thing missing, and it was like 1960 something. And apparently there hasn't been like a large format true audit to see where all the money goes because of all the government waste.
Oh, it's all the black ops. There's all this stuff. That's all this stuff that we can't. That they're funding. We talked about the NSA and
veterans are coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq. Okay, that served many more than one tour. Because in the volunteer military, you serve, and your skill set fits a war zone. There are no domestic jobs at home, so you're going to stay in. They make considerably. They don't make good money. I mean, I don't know if you saw that thing I posted that someone in a military uniform deserves considerably more money than someone that protects a quarterback.
Yeah, well.
At the end of the day,
the whole sports situation's.
See, the vets are getting screwed because of the VA too.
We're looking a lot like the Romans and the Greeks.
Yeah.
We spend millions on bazillions. I mean, I took a survey right before I got here, and I mean, I so hated it. Which one of these shows would you watch? Which one of these shows wouldn't you watch? Is Netflix? Does this? No, I'm not going to pay an even third party thief. I'm already paying the satellite guy, so I can get a TiVo box from my DirecTV. What do I need to have Netflix for? I mean, really, we spend so much money on things that, at the end of the day, amount to so little.
That's true, but when you get into the entertainment dollars, that's a whole different argument unto itself. But I understand where you're going.
But then again, entertainment was a You remember when movies used to have morals and try to teach you a story? A lesson might be drawn from the movie.
They still do. It just doesn't happen to be morals that you agree with, unfortunately. And as a guy who actually watches a ridiculous amount of movies, they do have morals.
Jonathan, don't you have a show?
Yes, I actually do.
You actually have a movie show, don't you?
Pitch it, Jonathan.
Yeah.
It's Real Flicks Reviews, comes out Monday, and it's with a couple of buddies of mine. Make sure you watch it.
Well, get donations, because we're going to steal them from you for...
We're going to keep... Every now and then they're talking about bringing the old guy in to argue with them on some of these shows, so we'll see what happens with that. But...
Call me, Jonathan.
You know what? You said the magic word, and, I'm looking at our followerships. 4 o'clock's not working. We don't have a single follower today, but alive anyway.
I gave the kids the address today.
Yeah? Well...
They said, you mean we can't watch? I said...
Of course they can watch. Of course they. Well, maybe something's going on with Ustream right now. But
I was going to say on that movie and morals thing. They actually do. The movie Avatar has a message. You just have to read through it. So does movies South Central. Every movie has a message because the person who writes it. The question is, do you agree with it, and is it right? But every movie nowadays, it's not like the old days when. You had the guy in the black hat be the bad guy. It's
Hey, we got 10 minutes to go here. We plugged your show enough, John. Watch John's show. You can talk to him about that one on it. You know what? I came across.
I actually, and Jonathan will know. I always forget the actual title. The subtitle was Bone City. There's a book series that's like Undestructible something. They end up being shadow chasers. And the girl and the boy end up being brother and sister. I actually went to that movie a week ago, and it was one of the most entertaining movies that I've seen in a while. And then I went and saw We're the Millers, and actually totally stupid. And it's really what was that? The Weekend or The Hangover, but put in a much more palatable way.
See, here's in my
opinion. And Jennifer Aniston is anything but sexy.
Well, here's the thing I find interesting on movies is it's a reflection on society. If you take a look from like the Big Store with Mel Brooks, with Groucho Marx, to South Central, to the Elysium, it's all a reflection of society and the way society's going. Because each movie in each era is different. And I think the modern movies have a very interesting reflection on the way society is.
The apocalypse is near.
Oh, anyway,
now,
it just...
Anyway, we're on the movies. Watch Jonathan Monday. What time on Old Guy Tech TV?
We don't do it live, but it comes out Monday night at it's probably around 8 o'clock.
Yeah, they do it every Monday. You see it. They're live. It's there live. Not live, but it's there recorded. He's got quite a collection of interviews and reviews and that type of stuff. So off of Old Guy Tech TV, you can see John's show.
Hey,
it's Real Flicks Reviews.
Marcus Allen down there with Good Day Sacramento has made a career. I mean, people don't realize that Mark is a movie reviewer. Greatly respected in many markets in the United States. Hardest working guy in the business, Mark S. Allen down in Sacramento.
Yeah.
Why is he still in SAG?
Well, it's a home base for him. He's syndicated nationally.
Yeah. Hey, so just with our last few minutes left here, I came across some interesting things while I was researching, and so we'll end up on an interesting note here. Did you, or were you aware of the fact that 72 types of Americans are considered potential terrorists in official government documents? I love this. I'm going to read this list, and you tell me how many times you're on this list. Let's see. Those who talk about individual liberties. Ding. Those who advocate for states' rights. 2. Ding. Those who want to make the world a better place.
3.
Ding! I mean, this is incredible. The colonists who sought to free themselves from British rule. But
4.
What?
Keep going.
Okay, here we go. Those who are interested in defeating communism. Those that believe that the interests of one's own nation are separate from the interests of other nations or the common interest of all nations.
Wait, just 1 second. communism?
But
Really? Is it the
I'm telling you,
1970s? What the hell?
I'm telling you that this NSA thing is,
Not
as I
even
keep
a
going,
communist.
let's keep going. I mean, anybody that holds a political ideology that considers the state to be unnecessary, harmful, and undesirable, anyone that possesses an intolerance towards other religions, those that take action to fight against the exploration of the environment and or animals, anti-gay, anti-immigrant, anti-Muslim, the Patriot Movement, opposition to equal rights for gays and lesbians, members of Family Research Council, members of American Family Association, those that believe, I'm telling you, this is legit. Those that believe that Mexico, Canada, and United States are secretly planning to merge into a European Union-like entity that will be known as the North American Union. Members of we talked about that. The American members of the American Border Patrol and the American Patrol. So of course they're looking at our own law enforcement as terrorists. Members of the Federation for American Integration Reform.
Wait, hold that. What was that, John?
What?
What's the online currency?
Oh, Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
Those people got to be on the list, brother.
Well, I'm sure they're here.
Cryptocurrency. And the funniest thing about that, they still have no idea where it came from. They have absolutely no idea, which is funny as hell.
Somebody was just sitting down with a couple of guys, drinking a few beers, smoking a few joints.
And the U.S. government just passed a thing or some sort of law or some sort of court case that just said it's actual currency. So you might start getting taxed on your Bitcoins.
I don't know. Bitcoins, yeah. Let's see. Members of the Tennessee Freedom Coalition. That's interesting. They don't like the Tennessee people, do they? Members of the
They don't like the Scots-Irish.
Christian Action Network. I'm telling you, this is funny. We'll keep going. Anyone that is opposed to the New World Order. What? Anyone that is engaged in conspiracy theoryism. Anyone that's opposed to Agenda 21.
What's Agenda 21?
I don't know. I'll have to look at that.
Look it up.
I'll look it up. I'll go back and I'll...
Obviously subversive and anti-American.
Must be something. Anyone that is concerned about FEMA camps, anyone that fears impending gun control or weapons confiscation.
I don't know anybody like that.
Oh, my God.
I'm more worried about that than
the militia
else.
movement, sovereign citizen movement, those that don't think they should have to pay taxes.
Wesley Snipes.
Anyone that complains about bias. Anyone that believes in government conspiracies to the point of paranoia. Anyone that is frustrated with mainstream ideologies. I'm cracking myself up reading this.
Here's a funny guy.
Only 70%?
Oh, my.
That's like 100% of the people I know, or at least are on that list somewhere.
Oh, anyone that exhibits extreme religious intolerance. Anyone that is personally connected with a grievance. Anyone that suddenly acquires weapons.
The question is, what do they consider a weapon?
Oh, my God.
It's click and clack, the Tappert Brothers once said. We've wasted another perfectly good hour.
Yes, we have. We got 1 minute. I'll go to real quick here.
Oh, come on.
Oh, here we go. Let's see. Anyone that organized protests inspired by extremist ideology. What did I just say? We needed to go to the Capitol and protest.
I scream weekly. Get in the streets, GD.
Oh, my God. Anybody that's anti-global, those that are suspicious of centralized federal authority, those that are relevant of individual liberties, those that believe in conspiracy theories, those that have a belief that one's personal and or national way of life is under attack. What?
Just because you're paranoid does not mean they're not watching you. Come on.
Anyone that had supported political moments of anonymity.
Of what?
Autonomy.
Autonomy?
Autonomy.
Yeah. Autonomy.
Yeah, it's autonomy. When you read it, it's a weird word.
I have no idea what it means.
It's autonomy. That means
auto-autonomy?
No,
autonomous.
It's autonomous is what that meant. Yeah.
Okay.
Standing alone.
Anti-abortion, anti-Catholic, anti-nuclear, right-wing extremists. You're in trouble, Jonathan. Returning veterans, those concerned about illegal immigration, those that believe in the right to bear arms, anyone that is engaged in ammunition stockpiling.
There we go.
Oh,
God, this
my
list,
God.
what did they do? Just go after everybody who
They
watches
went after
Fox News?
Keep going. We got 2 seconds ago here.
In 23 episodes, I think we have covered about 65 of the 72.
My gosh. Oh, yeah. Here's the one. Anyone that's displays the "Don't Tread on Me" flag. I've got that on my motorcycle. I'm in trouble. Those that believe in the end of time prophecies.
Oh, yeah.
Evangelistic
By the way, thank you,
Christians.
government, for going over my faith.
Anyway, every one of us is probably on this list. So what's that means? What this says is the government considers us all terrorists. And you know what? So be it. Hey, we wrapped up another wonderful hour, huh?
Look at those faces.
That's right. I'm still waiting, as I said.
Afraid of all.
So as I said, NSA, I'm still waiting for it. But you know what? We've done an hour. Hey, it's been another wonderful show. John Majestic, John Charney. I'm Rob Charney. Thanks for watching Opinion, Visual Opinion. We'll see you next week.